What's up, guys? Getting ready to throw on the Law Tactical folder onto the 16-inch Geisley Super Duty Mod 1. But before we do, wanted to talk about how we've got the vise set up on the toolbox here. So on the last video, there were some questions about how this vise was attached, because I guess some of y'all have a similar toolbox and want to attach a vise to your setup as well. So we're going to go over the Inline Fabrication quick change system that I used for this bench vise here. So the reason I went with the Inline Fabrication is because a lot of people use their stuff for reloading, but I had seen that you could swap out tools that were on the plate. And why I chose this for the vise setup is because while I have my vise on the bench a lot, sometimes I might be working on something else where I don't want my vise there. So it'd be good to be able to remove it quickly and not have it taking up space and limiting my bench space. So Inline Fabrication has an awesome solution for that, and super simple. I was hesitant at first to go with it just because there was not a lot of pictures out there of people using it for vices. People were using it for reloading presses, grinders, auto primers, and different reloading aspects and tools, but I hadn't seen a good video or pictures for the actual vise. So I didn't know how it was going to work out, but I'll show you the 3 parts that were needed, and it's super simple, and hopefully it helps you if you have a similar setup and want to get a bench vise set up in your workspace. All right, so this is obviously the vise set up on the plate here, and I'll show you. So the only thing that is holding that in is there's a tongue that basically goes into a groove that's recessed, and then you've got 2 posts with wing nuts down here. So if I take these wing nuts off, you'll see how quickly we can go ahead and take this vise off. So I just lift up and slide out. So basically this tongue right here is the part that was into this groove right here that you have cut out. And then these posts right here, you got 1 post, 2 posts were right here in the quick change base plate, and then the wing nuts were just holding that down. So that's how simple it is to take your vise on and off the bench. Now, the setup over here, so you've got the quick change base plate, and then in order to create this gap right here, there's a spacer. It's a small spacer that you just add to your purchase if you don't want to route your bench. So this can be a flush mount if you want to go ahead and route the bench top you have, so then you won't have it sticking up at all. Right now I've got the spacer in there. I didn't want to route the bench top just because I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out. So I've got the spacer in there, and it sticks up probably between 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch. So this is actually raised off of the wood surface, you can see, but it's very minimal. Now another thing on this system is that it does overhang the edge of the bench just slightly, so that those posts can go down through, and then the wing nuts can attach for the quick change system. So that you do overlap it just slightly. It's probably 1.5 inches, just under 2 inches. The instructions tell you and kind of give you a good layout for that. But it's super simple. 4 screws, or I'm sorry, not screws, 4 bolts that are flush mount bolts through the wood bench, nuts and washers on the bottom to tighten that down. And then you've actually got like a little set screw right here. I don't know if you can see it, that once that base plate is in there, you can go ahead and tighten down that set screw as well if there's any wobble in the base plate. Now the base plate, so they offer base plates that are already cut for multiple tools, like I said, reloaders, and they've got a whole list on there. Or you can go ahead and get a blank base plate, which is what this is. This is the 8x8 blank base plate, which I went ahead and attached my vise to here. So now the one thing you have to worry, or the one thing you have to take into account for, is these need to be flush, so that way it can sit on this flat here. Now the 2 that are at the end that overlap it, the way that this is set up is when it slides in there for the post, So these two bolts right here on the end, they don't have to be flush on the bottom because of this overhang, but the one bolt that is up here has to be flush because it's sitting against that quick change base plate. So you either have to countersink it or figure out a way that you can get a flush mounting bolt there. Now the other option is you can actually send your measurements to Inline Fabrication and they will cut the base plates for you. I wasn't sure how that all worked, so I went ahead and did it on my own and we got it to work out. But super simple. Again, you can swap tools, you can leave this blank. They offer like a spacer here if this bothered you. If you didn't like this little recess here, you can put a spacer in there when you're not using it. I pretty much leave my vise on my bench full time unless I have a reason not to, which isn't very often, but it's nice to have that capability if needed. So that is the Inline Fabrication system. I'll go ahead and put the 3 parts that I used for this setup, the base plate, the spacer, and then this blank plate for the vise mount. I'll go ahead and put them up here so y'all can see them. And if you have any questions, leave a question in the comments, shoot me a message, and try to get an answer for you. Thanks, guys.